Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Laz Jr. Do me one favor. Please hit the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel. I'll gladly appreciate it. So, I followed this case off and on, the Shanquella Robinson case. And it's a sad situation to be in. I mean, I've had cousins that got murdered, some friends that have gotten murdered, and I don't even know if they caught the young men, that did it. This is when I was a kid coming out, when these things had happened. Without further ado, let's get into this video.
Has made headlines nationwide. It's been more than 4 months since the Charlotte native went on a trip with friends to Cabo, Mexico. She didn't return home alive. Mexican authorities have ruled her death a femicide or murder. The FBI also investigating her death. But here we are 4 months later, still no arrests in this case, leaving many questions like how did this happen and who did it? Today, the attorney for Shanquella Robinson's family sent us a copy of a letter. The Robinson family and a national activist are now calling on President Biden and Secretary of State Antony Blinken to personally help to bring justice for Shanquella. The letter to the president also included a packet of Mexican police records that had not been released previously, and an autopsy. There's a copy of it for you right here. We went through it very carefully, and we found there are some key takeaways here for you to understand. First off, this was performed the day after Shanquella was killed. It shows Shanquella died from atlas and medullary dislocation. In simple terms, that's a broken neck and a severe spinal cord injury. The autopsy also found contusions or blunt force trauma to her front region or her head and parts of her pelvis as well. And there were also friction burns on her body. In early November, this video showing an alleged fight went viral on social media. Now, we don't know if she sustained.
The person that's holding the video, this is my first time seeing this video, and he's a young man. And I believe he said, "You're not going to fight back." You're watching this young lady get beat up, and you're not trying to stop the situation. I'm going to say that again. You're watching this video of this other girl who took you on a trip get beat up, and you post it on social media for all to see. That is so foul, and that is so wrong. Oh my goodness, man. This young lady died so horrible.
Those injuries described in the autopsy during this fight, but her family says this is Shanquella in the video. And the FBI in Charlotte tells WBTV they were also sent that video. Now, in the packet of documents they provide by the law firm representing Shanquella's family were those police reports. They interviewed someone who interacted with Shanquella and her friends while in Cabo. Here's our Brandon Hamilton's report.
An employee at the resort Robinson was staying at describes providing assistance to the friends in Robinson inside their Cabo, Mexico villa. That unidentified male employee told investigators the group arrived on the night of October the 28th. He said he met Robinson around dinner time. He added she was the last to the table, quote, seemed not to fit in with the others and was out of place at that party.
Obviously, Shanquella was attacked by someone in the group, one of the travel mates. So the employee describing their interaction lets me know that the environment that she was in for her last moments wasn't a positive one.
The next day, October the 29th, as we've reported, Robinson was found dead. According to the transcript, the resort employee received a text from the main guest asking about medical service and added that Robinson had alcohol poisoning. Employee later learned Robinson had died. In the initial death certificate provided by her family, a spinal cord injury was listed as the cause of death. In the hours after her death, again, according to the transcript, the group requested a driver to go to dinner. They would never come back to the villa. After seeing this viral video, the employee in the transcript said, quote, "I realized that practically the main guest had manipulated me with the information she provided of what happened to leave the country as soon as possible."
Of course she did.
And our Brandon Hamilton joins us here in studio with more on this. I know you've been following this story very, very closely, really more than anybody else reporting on this. What stood out to you most? What did you learn from these documents today?
Yeah, when you're reading the documents, what stood out was that interview from the employee that worked at that villa where they stayed at. He talked about when those guests arrived. He talked about when they got there, how shanquella was. So from reading that, he said that she seemed like she didn't fit in. So that leads you to think what happened in those hours to make her standoffish, because you would think if you went on a trip with someone,
with friends,
to
we
another
thought, right?
country,
Yeah,
you would also be happy and be more juvenile in your expressions of wanting to be there. So that stood out for me, just the fact that he says she didn't seem like she wanted to be there.
interesting. What is the Robinson family hoping the Biden administration can do at this point?
Yep, so they've been calling on this diplomatic intervention, which essentially is terms of having the president or someone of top authority in our federal government get involved by saying and doing to speed up the investigation process. And by speeding that up, you know, the attorneys, they've been saying this when they went to D.C. earlier this month, and also in the letter, they want either the United States government to either extradite that one person that Mexico has said is direct aggressor. They want that one person extradited back to Mexico, or to have the United States government take over the investigation and prosecute the person or persons in the U.S. And they want it done swiftly.
But bottom line, though, the FBI really not saying a whole lot, just that they're investigating, right? All right, our Brandon Hamilton's been on top of this story.
It's a long investigation. And this gentleman by the name of lead attorney, I followed this case off and on, and he found out some information from somebody that he knew in Mexico. Lee used to live in Mexico for I think about 5 years, he said, and he said he said that the government is corrupt, cops. You know, it's a different atmosphere in Mexico, and their government was changing over. They was changing over some laws and some things, and it was a process. And the reporter that Lee knew, long story short, he found a lot of information, and it is my guess that Lee was compensating him, or he was setting up something so he can get compensated. The reporter who was reporting to Lee. And he gave him a lot of information, and a lot of news companies, a lot of news networks were trying to get a hold of the case, but they couldn't. And they were calling this guy like you would not believe. This was Lee's contact. Long story short, he told Lee that the young ladies and the people that was with Shanquella didn't want to bring her to the hospital. They told her treat her on site, which they did treat her on site. The cops came after they couldn't revive her. It was also said that they gave her 2 or 3 shots of adrenaline to revive her, because they said she had alcohol poisoning. When she wouldn't revive, that's when they said, hey, we got a body. Like you heard in the video, they manipulated the staff or whoever they were talking to tell them a story so that they can get out of Mexico. I guess it's one of those things where people may think what happens in Mexico stays in Mexico. And if you know the government down there, you know some rules and some laws, you'll know that it's not on the up and up from what I'm told. So that's why his case is kind of being drugged. It's pretty sad. And they interviewed the father and the mother, I believe, and it's a bad situation for your child to be in. If you're a mother or a father like I am, put yourself in their shoes, and this is your baby, this is your daughter. I want to say this. If this was a Caucasian girl they would have arrested somebody within that group or all of them. Coming up, seeing things like this on TV, and it's a Caucasian girl or a little boy that's lost in the woods or something, that's shedding everything down to find them. In this case, why don't we do the same thing? You got the video of the young man videotaping what was happening. Everybody in there should be investigated, talked to. Extradite them back over there. Because that's where it happened at. That was wrong. It was all wrong. Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Please let me know your thoughts on this video. God bless.